Înțelegeți.
Today is finally the day the presidential nominees have made
It is
their
decision
final
day in America, and we are taking a look at the presidential race. And
after a long, contentious presidential race.
On Election Day, Donald Trump and his senior campaign team were huddled at Trump Tower.
They went into election night believing that they were going to lose.
At 5 o'clock, they received the first exit polls.
Down to the first poll closings right now.
When we got those early returns, the exit polls that I actually got at about 5:01, we all had a little bit of a gut punch.
If Trump wants to win, he's got to hold on to Florida.
In state after state, he was so far behind that I knew that he was going to lose because the exit polls don't get it wrong.
We were getting crushed in like Michigan, Pennsylvania. I mean, just, and so from like 6 o'clock on, you know, we're all like, oh my God.
And look at all these wins we're projecting for Hillary Clinton right now. Take a look at the electoral map.
It seemed to confirm what the media and political establishment had been saying for months. Donald Trump never had a chance.
Every senior Republican that I talked to, with only one exception, thought that Trump was going to lose.
But as the votes were counted in Florida, a surprise.
And CNN projects Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida. With its 29 electoral votes, Donald Trump...
Florida was just the beginning.
There's a big old call to make right now. Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin, and there goes her blue wall.
Late on election night, one of his senior campaign officials emailed me and just said, "Can you type President Trump?"
Fox News has called Pennsylvania for Donald Trump.
Our communications director, Jason Miller, held up and said, AP just called. And I said, just called what? Which state? And he said, the whole race.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States. The most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen.
Chris Christie's son said, Kellyanne, your phone is ringing. I looked down and it said, Uma Abedin. And she said, Secretary Clinton would like to speak with Mr. Trump. And I said, right now? And she said, if he's available. And I said, he's available. And I said, sir, Secretary Clinton.
She had been First Lady, a senator, and Secretary of State. She conceded to an entrepreneur, reality TV star, and novice politician. The call lasted about a minute.
In an electoral college victory that virtually no one saw coming a year ago, a few months ago, even a month ago, even yesterday.
It was an oh my God moment. It was euphoria that we had won the election that no one thought we could win.
Not long after, to the music from Harrison Ford's movie Air Force One, the president-elect arrived at his victory celebration.
Even for him, it was an overwhelming feeling to see yourself be elected president of the United States.
You're never going to see anybody like this again. He is somebody that defied every political rule that existed in a way that nobody has ever done before.
It's my honor. It was an amazing evening. It's been an amazing 2-year period. And I love this country.
It was an unprecedented outcome. Over 17 months, Donald Trump had broken nearly every rule of American politics. Then came the question whether the way he had campaigned would be the way he would govern.
Trump is going to be Trump. This idea that you can make him into something else, that's not what the people voted for. They voted for Trump as he is. That's the way they want him to be. And nobody's going to remake him. He will either succeed or fail being Donald Trump.
The sheer unpredictability of a President Donald Trump.
How unpredictable the new terrain here in Washington is.
Is this our new normal? Is there reason for the creation of a new reality?
Donald Trump has broken the rules of what it means to be president.
What Trump are we going to see, do you think?
Going to constantly have rules that are broken and my way or the highway.
President Trump is very much a wild card.
We're calling a political earthquake, an unraveling of the system, or even a revolution.
The seeds of Donald Trump's presidency are embedded in his path to power. He redefined what it meant to be a serious presidential candidate, starting with his announcement.
I remember watching the announcement and
and laughing at the entertainment value the way a lot of people did.
In Washington, you could almost just hear people around town laughing at the idea that this person was going to be a credible threat. He seemed like a cartoon character.
He did the exact opposite of what every candidate has done before him. It was like extending the middle finger to the political establishment, and in doing that, in that very first moment, people took a look at him and said, you know what? He really is different.
That is some group of people, thousands.
I wrote what was supposed to be his announcement speech, and that speech was supposed to clock in at about 7 minutes and 43 seconds.
Because we got to make the country rich. It sounds crass. Somebody said, oh, that's crass. It's not crass. We got 18 trillion in debt.
Probably 3 or 4 minutes into his remarks, I could clearly tell that these were not the prepared remarks which I had drafted, and then he had gone on to make an announcement speech which lasted somewhere around 45 or 48 minutes.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
When he made his comments about Mexicans, everybody was convinced that's it. He just blew himself up. Everybody was like, oh, this is going to be the death of him.
Behind the scenes, Trump's campaign was as unconventional as his announcement.
Donald Trump's campaign was lean and small, and in a sense run out of Donald Trump's, instincts. I mean, he threw all of the normal things out the window.
Corey Lewandowski, an obscure political operative, was the campaign's manager.
In my very first meeting with Mr. Trump, when he offered me the position to be his campaign manager in January of 2015, he asked me what I thought his odds were of winning the Republican nomination. I said 5%. And he said 10. I said, let's settle at 7.5.
They worked 50 floors below Trump's New York penthouse. It had once housed the set where The Apprentice was shot.
All of The Apprentice camera equipment and furniture had been ripped out of it. You looked up at the ceiling and it was open piping. It was bare bones, and a lot of Trump pictures all over the walls.
As key advisors, Trump chose his children. Running things behind the scenes, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
It's this family business. With Ivanka and her brothers, Eric and Don Jr., and Ivanka's husband, Jared, we had this kind of council of advisors around Trump that he would turn to.
The campaign had a fundamental rule: let Trump be Trump.
I used to liken my role to being a jockey on a great racehorse, and I'd say American Pharaoh. And my job was to maybe drive that horse into the corners a little bit and put some blinders on, but you got to let it run.
Donald Trump is back on the road campaigning.
He caused controversy from the very start.
Secure the evangelical vote with 3 campaign events in Iowa today.
In Iowa, as he was interviewed by Republican pollster Frank Luntz.
And he and I get into an exchange over John McCain because he's taking shots at McCain. And I thought they were gratuitous.
He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured.
I couldn't believe he said that. I was completely stunned. Everyone in that room thought, this is it. It's over.
Folks, I want to make America great again. We want to get down to brass tacks. We don't want to listen to his stuff with being politically correct and everything has. We have a lot of work to do.
I asked Mr. Trump after he came off the stage to have a private conversation with him, and I said, I think we need to fix this. And when I said fix it, I meant an apology. And Donald Trump understood things that I didn't understand about the American people, said, no, you don't understand.
Trump refused to apologize.
And once I understood that he was willing to double down on his comments and be a fighter for what he believes in, I'm all in. And I'm there with you to support you.
Don Voyage. Trump is toast after insults.
Yeah, everything erupted after this.
Virtually every Republican criticized Trump for
This clip is played on every newscast for the next 48 hours.
So far, Trump's political campaign operates with a no guts, no glory approach.
And he survived it. He survived walls and Mexicans and everything. That which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And if you ever needed any evidence, just look at Donald Trump.
The biggest event to date in campaign 2016 is now
candidates taking the stage.
Donald Trump gearing up for the crucial
2.5 weeks later in Cleveland, the first Republican debate.
Businessman Donald Trump.
He was facing off against a group of candidates Republican leaders touted as the best in a generation.
It is 9 p.m. East Coast, and the moment of truth has arrived.
Among the other candidates, there was this sort of smug confidence that we know what we're doing. This guy is from show business, a little bit Hollywood, a lot of razzle-dazzle.
Early in the debate, he faced a crucial test. Whether his tabloid past and outrageous statements would sink his campaign.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account
Only
has
Rosie
several...
O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
Trump doesn't deny it. He simply says, I only said that about Rosie O'Donnell. And in a way, that is pure Trump.
What I say is what I say. And honestly, Megyn, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that.
He's doing something that is both repellent and completely authentic all at once. And he's acknowledging that he said these horrid things. He's not shirking it. I think there were voters out there that said, you go, man. You said exactly what you think, and you're not backing down.
And Trump wasn't done. After the debate, the candidates appeared in what is known as Spin Alley. Trump kept the controversy going.
Donald Trump shows up as if he needed this hit of adrenaline before he went home to New York.
It's okay?
Yep.
Yes, don't hurt yourselves.
It was like mosquitoes to a lantern on a summer night. I mean, the entire National Press Corps descended.
People were being trampled and camera equipment was flying all over the place, and I'd never seen a scene like this. I mean, I've seen many media stampedes, but nothing like that.
What's your history with
Megyn? I think Megyn behaved very badly, personally.
The question about women, you didn't like that?
No, I thought it was an unfair question. They didn't ask those questions.
Trump can't help himself because he considers anybody questioning his bona fides as someone who he needs to decapitate, essentially.
It was just the beginning. At 3:40 in the morning, he lit up Twitter.
Wow, Megyn Kelly really bombed tonight. People are going wild on Twitter. Funny to watch.
This is
On the phone with CNN, he pushed harder.
What is it with you and Megyn Kelly?
She starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions, and, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Donald Trump attacks her and suggests she only asked a tough question because she was menstruating. I mean, and his numbers went up.
She's a lightweight. I couldn't care less about her. In fact, you're competing against her. And
At every stage in the campaign, Donald Trump was perfectly happy to have the elites be aghast at him. The kind of non-politically correct, decisive, tough, battling kind of personality that he was putting forward in that debate and in the confrontations with Megyn Kelly and others that he sought out.
While the media controversy swirled, Trump was out in the country building his base. His personal plane rolled up to hangars filled with curious onlookers, eager to see the reality TV star in person.
There were a lot of people who were there who were pure curiosity seekers. They were there to see a celebrity. They were there to see the guy they know from The Apprentice.
Trump is a producer at heart, and when he did these rallies, he made sure that the staging was perfect. So we see the same elements that Trump applied in his hit TV show, The Apprentice. We saw that in the early rallies.
Right at the moment of the first chord, Trump hits the stage. And I felt this wave go through me. And that was the moment that I realized, holy, this is real. It was like Pavlov's dog. He hits the stage. They erupt. I'd never seen this before.
Trump just had them in the palm of his hand. They were responding to him. He was responding to them.
Those crowds at those rallies, they were tremendously energizing to him. I mean, it was a symbiotic relationship. They fed off of each other. The crowd fed off of him. He fed off of the crowd.
For Donald, confidence is a huge part of the game.
This was the whole point of all those rallies. It wasn't just to fire up people to vote for him. It was to fire up Donald Trump. He feeds off of audiences in a way that I think very few politicians do, and needed to be energized by the affirmation, and it worked.
And you know, look at all those live television feeds. It's always tough. Every time I speak, they put me on live television, so I have to make different speeches. These guys go around, they make the same speech hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Nobody cares. It's true.
He was looking out at the camera bank, and he could see the red light on the camera, and that meant that he was live on CNN.
You got CNN Live, you got them all.
Or Fox or one of the other networks, and he said that what he tried to do in those rallies was say whatever it took to keep the red light on.
Now, if you like the media, give them a big hand, and if you don't, give them a big boo.
Rather than rely primarily on polls,
I had a feeling.
Trump watched to see how the crowd reacted.
Early on, they were kind of, these rally speeches were a bit rambling and all over the place. As he went on, he started to really hone his message, and he started to remember what lines worked.
We're going to have such a strong military that nobody is going to mess with us.
What the crowds wanted?
Nobody.
Donald Trump.
We are led by very stupid people.
Unfiltered.
We are going to start winning big league.
Angry.
We can't beat ISIS. Give me a break.
And it was every location. It was the same messages. We're tired of Washington lying to us.
Going to drive the cars over the illegals. Build a wall. Build a wall.
American people were angry, and they have a right to be. And what they see in Donald Trump is someone who's willing to fight for them for a change.
He called them the forgotten and spoke directly to their fears and anger. At Washington, at trade deals, at immigration.
People in this country are afraid of illegal immigrants. People in this country have become afraid of random violence. They're afraid of jobs being shipped overseas. There's so much that scares Americans. And Donald Trump was the only politician who talked to those concerns and those fears. To his critics, it's fear-mongering. To his supporters, it's truth-telling.
Donald Trump is the projected winner of the New Hampshire.
Gains his front-runner status in a crowded field.
He's pulling ahead in virtually every Super Tuesday state.
In one state after another.
We love Nevada. We love Nevada. Thank you.
Trump proved that he could use his base of working-class voters to win.
It's mostly white. They don't like political correctness. They feel like they can't speak their mind at home or at work. And so they want something else. Trump strolls in. He says exactly what they want to hear.
This makes back-to-back victories for Donald Trump, dominating his third consecutive.
Donald Trump is a professional political wrecking ball.
Finally, his opponents had to take him seriously.
At that point, the establishment suddenly wakes up and says, we've got to do something. We've got to go after him. We can't ignore him anymore.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
The establishment feared him for a lot of reasons. One, he was not of them. Two, he didn't play by their rules. And three, they genuinely thought he was a threat, certainly to the Republican Party, to conservatism, and if he got that far, to the nation.
Guys, we have a con artist as the front runner in the Republican Party. A guy who has made a career out of telling people lies.
It was a shock to the Republican establishment. They did everything they could, for the most part, to prevent him.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the members of the American public for suckers.
Every time the establishment attacked Trump, it played into the narrative that they wanted to put out there, which was that he was so anti-establishment, they were going to do anything that they could to take him down.
This man is a pathological liar. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth.
Tonight, live from the Peace Center in Greenville, South Carolina.
On the debate stage, Trump hit back.
The single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
One by one, each rival comes at him. He throws them away.
He said he would take his pants off and moon everybody.
Tosses a barb in their direction, diminishes them personally.
And then he tells me, oh, my language was a little bit rough. Okay.
Destroys their record.
This little guy has lied so much.
Donald Trump had the ability to just grab the microphone, just trample over people. That was entertaining. It was different.
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
It was ruthless political performance by Donald Trump. He had nothing to lose, and he owed nothing to the Republican Party. So instead of standing there as a member of a party trying to get the nomination, he was there for Trump. That changed everything.
Scott Walker is quitting the presidential
One by
race.
one,
Carly Fiorina and Chris Christie have suspended their campaigns.
Trump's competitors began to fall.
Surgeon Ben Carson dropping out of the 2016 GOP.
But on the campaign trail, at some rallies, things were increasingly ugly.
The anger only increased as it got farther along. It became completely acceptable. It became okay to come to a Trump rally and wear a shirt that says Hillary Clinton is a CT.
And there were some in the crowds with a darker agenda.
The campaign is continually dogged by a small and vocal number of white supremacists, Klansmen, neo-Nazis.
Some would come in wearing Confederate flags on their T-shirts.
This isn't a very large group of people, but they're very vocal. And they attach themselves to Trump.
Trump, whenever there was a moment to draw a line between himself and these extreme parts of the voting bloc, he refused. I think without question, the only way you can interpret that is that he was going to use these groups to try to build this coalition.
It wasn't long before anti-Trump protesters began to show up inside the rallies.
There's a guy totally disruptive, throwing punches. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. That's true.
You start seeing these really ugly moments at the rallies with protesters, some of whom are non-white protesters, getting treated very violently by his supporters. Trump himself seeming to incite his supporters to go after protesters.
Knock the crap out of him, would you? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees.
Trump didn't just turn on the protesters. He also directed the anger at the media.
Absolute dishonest, absolute scum. Remember that. Scum. Scum.
NBC's Katie Tur became a frequent target after one of her reports.
She's back there. Little Katie. She's back there.
He calls me out the rally. Look back there, little Katie, she's back there. And I was like, what?
What a lie it was. No, what a lie. Katie Tur. What a lie it was from NBC to have written that. It was a total lie.
We are surrounded on all sides with people who are fired up and angry.
Third-rate reporter. Remember that. Third-rate. Third-rate.
And they are whipped up by Donald Trump. I described it as like, you know, an unchained beast roaring at you in a crowd. And the whole place turns at me, looks at me, and boos.
Bun, a doua parte a acestui documentar fabulos o veți vedea mâine seară.
Foarte tare.
Tare?
Absolut extraordinar documentarul. Extraordinar.
Bun, pentru oricine se întâlnește cu Trump